Hello everyone, I'm Drew Goldfarb, and paying college athletes is easy and cheap to do. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how the NCAA can go about doing it without destroying amateur athletics or breaking the bank. College football and college basketball are huge industries. Every year, hundreds of millions of dollars pour into major Division I programs, with some individual football programs averaging profits at or near $100 million annually. According to the USA Today, in the 2016-17 academic year, 31 college athletics departments brought in over $100 million apiece in total revenue, though I should say that number is misleading. It's misleading because the USA Today's list only includes public institutions. The Miami Hurricanes, Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and others are not included on that list. On top of that, those numbers predate the Atlantic Coast Conference's newest TV deal signed in 2017 and a contract between ESPN and the Big 12 to air the conference's football championship games signed just this year. With so much money coming in, coaching salaries have skyrocketed. Clemson's Dabo Swinney signed a 10-year deal worth $93 million in 2019 to coach the Tiger football team. In his first year as Clemson's head coach in 2009, Swinney was paid under $1 million. Facilities for college programs have begun to outclass those at the NFL or NBA levels in some cases, as schools like Alabama, Florida State, and Oregon build up their locker rooms, field houses, and practice facilities just to try and entice the nation's top recruits. The only aspect of college sports where the amount of money going in hasn't changed: the players' share. I know what you're thinking, but Drew, players get a scholarship, and they get free food and free on-campus housing. And you're correct. Just the same as when Steve Sloan played his final game of what was then simply Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa in front of only 38,776 fans, Tua Tagovailoa gets the same basic scholarship to play in front of 101,821 fans in the same facility, now known as Bryant-Denny Stadium. There's another thing when it comes to scholarships that tends to be forgotten, and that is that the overwhelming majority of the time, scholarships are earned for work done in high school and have nothing to do with what's done in college. Sure, there's always that feel-good story over the summer about the 3-year walk-on that's given a scholarship for his senior season, but most Division I college football and college basketball players playing at Power 5 institutions aren't in that category. They earn their scholarships playing high school sports, being scouted by coaches as they learn to drive a car, and signing that scholarship offer months before they went to their senior prom. Also worth keeping in mind, only athletic scholarships come with the kind of restrictions that are placed on college athletes. I studied communications at Florida State University with the intent of pursuing a career in TV and media production, and I did so on a 75% scholarship. As a sophomore, I used some of the skills that I went to college to learn in order to get my first job in my field. Even though FSU had accepted me on the scholarship with the intent of focusing on studying communications, I was still allowed to get a job in communications before graduating, and that had nothing to do with impacting my eligibility to take certain courses or take part in school-funded activities. That experience is very much unlike members of the Seminole sports teams. Those student athletes were mostly given athletic scholarships to attend FSU, many with the goal of using what they learned playing for Bobby Bowden or Leonard Hamilton to try and get a job as a professional athlete. But when a player has a breakout performance and becomes a star, they're not allowed to get a job to capitalize on what they've gained and learned from their scholarship. No football player can take a spring job with the Arena Football League if they want to remain eligible to play college football the next fall. No basketball player can join a summer league or go to Europe to play ball if they want to remain eligible the following year. And thanks to age eligibility restrictions installed by both the NFL and the NBA, something that helps keep most American college-age players from going pro before playing at least a year or two within the NCAA system, there's no way for athletes to decide to leave for the NFL or the NBA once they've left high school. On top of that, these athletes are not permitted to profit off of their own name or skill while in college. While Duke certainly sold plenty of number 1 basketball jerseys last season, Zion Williamson, who wore number 1 for the Blue Devils, didn't see a dime. It was discovered in 2013 that the NCAA's official web store allowed for customers to search for a specific player's name, with the search results showing jerseys or shirts featuring that player's numbered uniform, only without the player's name explicitly on it. Johnny Manziel jerseys were being marketed and sold as Johnny Manziel jerseys, but Manziel was told at the exact same time he could not market himself or sell his signature or likeness, and the NCAA wasn't paying him as they profited by doing just that. So now we come to the part where we get to the how. How do we go about fixing this situation? How do we pay college athletes without destroying college athletics? I'm glad I asked. For starters, only 3 sports would even partially gain professional status: college football, men's college basketball, and women's college basketball. All other sports would remain as amateur, though athletes would be permitted to profit off of their name and likeness, including signing endorsements, paid autograph sessions, and licensing use of their name on official school merchandise. The reason for this division is twofold. First, football and basketball are by far the biggest moneymakers when it comes to average revenues. Baseball and hockey can be revenue generators for some schools, but nationally, it's essentially football and basketball. The second goes back to those eligibility rules. The NHL and Major League Baseball allow for athletes to be drafted at 18. There's a true top-level professional alternative for athletes good enough to earn their spots, and that's something that just can't be said for basketball and football. Okay, so on to the plan. The general idea is based off of the structuring of Division I college football. Right now, there are already 2 tiers of D1 football. FBS, the Football Bowl subdivision, which is what most people think of when they hear D1 football, and FCS, the Football Championship subdivision. This plan would add a 3rd tier right at the top, FPS, the Football Professional subdivision. Any team that wished to turn pro would simply become part of the Football Professional subdivision, which would likely consist of the majority of the 65 Power 5 schools. Schools like Alabama, Auburn, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Miami, Oklahoma, and USC would all go pro, while some schools like Iowa State, Washington State, and Purdue would likely remain as amateur programs and stay at the FBS level. The schools that go pro in football would also go pro in both men's and women's basketball. Schools that opt to remain at amateur status for football can still decide to turn pro for basketball, but must do so for both men's and women's hoops. It's a package deal and helps keep everything Title IX compliant. In addition to the 40 to 50 football schools, schools like Marquette, UConn, Villanova, and Xavier would likely all turn pro in basketball. College basketball's new Division I professional subdivision could reasonably house a total of 80 to 100 schools. So that's all well and good, but how are these athletes getting paid? How would this work? Well, let's go to football first. Right now, FBS programs are permitted to have 85 athletes on full scholarships for any given year. FCS programs allow for 63 full scholarships. The football professional subdivision would allow for 70 players per season. All athletes would be granted full scholarships and would be required to be full-time students in the spring or summer semester if they wish to play that fall, completing at least 15 credit hours per academic year. Obviously, incoming freshmen would not have to complete the full 15 credit hours prior to playing their first game. If the player were to leave school early, either to join the NFL or for any other reason, the full scholarship would remain, so the athlete could return to finish their degree at any time within 10 years from when they leave. As far as their salary, it would be tiered. For any given season, teams would pay the players a combined total of $10 million. 5 players would earn $275,000 a year, 5 players would earn $225,000, 20 players would earn $175,000, 20 more would earn $125,000, 10 would earn $100,000, and the final 10 players would earn $50,000 a year. For basketball, Division I teams can distribute up to 13 scholarships per season for men and 15 for women. For the D1 pro level, there would be 15 per team, paying a grand total of $3 million for each team. 4 players would earn $275,000 a year, 4 would earn $225,000, 4 $175,000, and 3 players would earn $100,000 a year. A school that opted to go pro in both football and basketball would spend $16 million a year on player salaries. Those that went pro in just basketball would spend $6 million a year. Regardless of the sport, all incoming freshmen signed to new contracts would be on guaranteed 2-year contracts. There would be a mutual option for a 3rd year where both the team and the player would have to agree to bring the player back for their junior season, followed by a player option for the 4th year, where it would be entirely the player's decision as to whether or not to return for their senior year. This would allow for players unhappy with their playing time to leave for greener pastures, or for players on smaller contracts to land bigger deals. No sitting out, no case-by-case basis where the NCAA gets to pick and choose who can play and when, just a normal contract. For players that leave after their sophomore or junior seasons, or for amateur level players looking to go pro at either of those points, teams would be permitted to offer contracts to any free agent so long as they had a slot open. Any free agent signed after their sophomore year would be locked into a 2-year contract, and any free agent signed after their junior year would be locked into a 1-year contract. These players would not be able to opt out before their contract was up, nor could the school opt out after agreeing to the offer. Another added benefit of this system, with fixed amounts of contracts at each dollar level, is that this would also help with the competitive balance across each sport. Now, a traditionally lesser school would be able to try and outbid one of the bigger programs by offering a top-tier salary to a player that would earn second or third-tier money at the traditional powerhouse. This could also lead to some schools that bring in a little less revenue than their powerhouse counterparts opting to become a pro team, since they know that they could offer top dollar to players that might currently only be the 7th or 8th biggest signing of an offseason for a school like Alabama. As for those schools left at the amateur level of Division I, they'd stand to benefit as well. Now, instead of a school like Florida Atlantic or Marshall being a mid or lower tiered amateur program, these schools would now be among the top amateur programs in the nation. Players who hope to earn bigger paydays after their sophomore seasons can spend their first 2 seasons playing for these schools before becoming free agents. And if you're worried about March Madness, don't be. Assuming that there aren't 200 schools going pro, the Division I professional subdivision would account for one side of the bracket, with the amateur subdivision taking up the other. Every year, the Final Four would determine both the top amateur team in the nation as well as the top professional team. In the national championship game, the two would square off, and as part of this arrangement, all players participating in March Madness would receive a $10,000 bonus per game played, regardless of whether they were professionals or amateurs. That would total roughly $20 million in additional pay, a small fraction of the reported $761 million that the NCAA pulled in just from the 2017 NCAA tournament, and the $869 million the tournament was expected to pull in 2018. In total, paying 50 teams worth of college football players and 100 teams worth of both men's and women's college basketball players would cost NCAA member schools a little more than $1 billion per year. It may sound like a lot, but not for college athletics. In 2017, Texas, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, and Georgia combined to generate enough revenue on their own to account for that, with a little left over. College sports has become a billion-dollar industry, and it's about time that the people generating all of that revenue actually got compensated for doing so. Do you agree or do you disagree? Is there anything about my argument for paying the players that might become a problem? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Odds On Favorites YouTube channel. I'm Drew Goldfarb. Thanks for watching. See you next time.